If yes, I would like to proceed. Before we start, this session will be recorded so that we can also share it afterwards to those who haven't been here. And I really would like to ask everyone to put the microphone off during the session. If there are any questions, please hold them until after the session. There we have 10 minutes left or so to also answer the questions you have regarding the NIS2. So if everyone is fine and can hear me okay, then I really would like to kick off this meeting. Before we start, let's do a short introduction of myself. My name is Roy Schaap. I'm one of the security sales executive within Ivanti, working with Ivanti for over 2 years now, and mainly focusing on the cybersecurity solutions with Ivanti. I work in the Benelux region, so I help our customers and also our partners with cybersecurity related questions and projects. For today, I also have my colleague with me, Patrick.
Yep, Patrick Kaak, lead sales engineer at Ivanti for 8.5 years. And I'm focusing on everything that has to do with user workspace management, endpoint management, and endpoint security.
Thank you, Patrick. So let me walk you through the agenda for today. I will start this meeting to tell you a bit more about the NIS2, why it's there, and what is it, the NIS2 in an overview. After that, my colleague Patrick will take it over to also explain you as a partner how Ivanti can help you as a partner, but also your customers to become compliant for the NIS2. So that will be the agenda for today. I think in total we will need about 40 minutes of your time, a bit more or a bit less, and afterwards there is some space left for your questions. So why the NIS2? I think hopefully most of you already know a bit what the NIS2 is and what it means. But of course, there is a reason why the NIS2 is being implemented right now within the European Union. Basically, and I think for all of you it will make a lot of sense, the cybersecurity landscape is increasing over the last year, especially also when COVID started, but also now cybersecurity is here to stay, and there are a lot of threats for each organization with the European Union, but also worldwide, that we have to take serious. Here you see some numbers. I will not explain them all of them, but a few of them are for me really important. Left below in your screen, you see that more than 600, that we see an increase of more than 600% of the devices that being compromised over the last 3 years, which also including data stealing of malware. And that's a lot, of course. And what also is really interesting to know, in that more of 50% of all the cases, it is caused by lack of talent or human failure. If you ask me, those figures mean a lot. This is also the main reason why not only we, but also you as a partner, and basically all the organizations within the European Union have to do something right now. And when we talk about the NIS2 and about the landscape, this is not something that you can do by yourself as a company or as a partner or as an organization, right? When we talk about the digital infrastructure, it is all interconnected, not only across the borders or across the European Union, but also especially worldwide. And the number of cross-border cyber attacks has increased a lot. So that's the main reason why the NIS2 is being implemented right now. Of course, when we take a look at this topic, there is one big change that hopefully we can also achieve with the implementation of the NIS2. And that is by also involving the top executives on a board level, to also involve them regarding the cyber resiliency of the organization, right? What we have seen, especially a few years ago, that of course security teams, they take cyber security seriously, but on the executive level, they are not always aligned the way we want and also the way security wants. So when we talk about the NIS2, let me walk you through what the NIS2 means to you in short. Indeed, the NIS2 is the successor of the NIS. The NIS is a current law within the European Union, and indeed, this is the successor of it. Besides that, we are running a bit out of time because originally the laws should be implemented in October of this year, right? So that's within a month. And what it basically means in general, that it sets new requirements regarding risk ownership, risk control, business continuity, and the way we report incidents. When you see this, I know October 2024, it is coming shortly, and indeed, not all countries are ready for it yet. In a few slides, I will tell you a bit more about that. And of course, when the NIS2 is implemented, this should have many advantages, not only for all the organizations within the European Union, but also as the security will be, of course, improved, the resiliency will be a lot better, and I think the whole cyber resiliency of the European Union will be much better. When we talk about the NIS2, there is one big difference in the way we should look towards the NIS2. Of course, it's all about cyber incidents and how we can decrease it, but it's going further than your own organization or your own business. When we look to the NIS2, you really have to think about the whole society and also the functioning of the entire society within the European Union that can be harmed. So not only about your business of the organization, but you have to take it one step further and also in towards other businesses that you collaborate with. So which sectors and entity cover the NIS2? Of course, all the entities that were also included in the NIS2 or in the NIS1, they are now also included. But as you can see, right now, there is an important difference, and they make a difference between, on one hand, the essential companies like energy, transport, healthcare, public administration, and on the other hand, and that's new within the NIS2, the important organizations like manufacturing, food, chemicals, or digital providers. So the scope of organizations that have to comply with the law is much bigger. And to be honest, at this point, there are about 180,000 organizations within the European Union that have to comply with the NIS2. So that's a lot of companies, right? So what will change? When we look towards the supervision and also the sanctions, there is a difference between, on one hand, the essential companies, and on the other hand, the important companies. So the essential companies, the most important ones, as you see on my screen, on one hand, there have to be proactive supervision. There will be, for each law, there will be one entity that will do the proactive supervision, also in Belgium and in Luxembourg. And the sanctions, as you see on my screen, they are really impressive, right? It can take up to fines if you not comply with up to 10 million or 2% of the annual worldwide turnover. And last but not least, the management, they are accountable for this. So this is a really important change when you relate it with the NIS, the original laws, is that the management also now is accountable for that. When you have customers within the important sector, it's more reactively based, and as you see, the sanctions are a bit lower. Nevertheless, all those companies have to comply with the new law that are coming up. When we talk about reporting, there is a big change. When a company has a cyber incident, within 24 hours, they have to make notice of that into the organization within the country who is responsible for that. So there will be a big change in reporting cybersecurity into your country. Also within 72 hours, important and international updates have to also be shared. And within 1 month, there has to be a final report being made about the cyber incident and also the way that the organization reacted on it. And last but not least, when there is an update, you have to provide those on request. So that's also an important change. So as you see, reporting takes a lot of effort and time for an organization to really do this on a decent way.
Yeah, and to add to that, if we look at the GDPR, then you see that GDPR says you have to inform within 72 hours. And with the NIS2, this is a lot earlier, within 24 hours already. And to make a final report within a month, you have to have all the solutions enabled in your organization to make that report, to get that investigation going, and to show what you have done.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. When we look at the way that countries locally are transposing the NIS2 into laws, as you can see, within the European Union, there is a lot of difference in the speed how countries are transposing those laws, right? As you see, Belgium is really good at this point. They already have implemented the act locally, so the laws are prepared. So as you can see, they are really good at it at this point, but also take into account that all the countries that you collaborate with or doing business with, those countries also should be ready. As you can see, for instance, the Netherlands, they have a bit delayed, to be honest, and they already mentioned that October 24 is not realistic. So for the Netherlands, the date is proposed into July 2025. But as you can see, a lot of countries still have some work to do to transposing the NIS2 into local laws. So when we take a look at the article that is written for the NIS2, what is it like? Of course, it's all about policies, procedures, and the way you handle with cybersecurity incidents, right? Like I already described. So that is really important. But besides the processes, the policies and procedures, you also have to take measures, technical measures, to show towards the law that you're also able, that you implemented it effectively. Besides that, when we talk about business continuity and crisis management, those parts are also really important, where you have to show that you are really on top of it and have the processes ready in case that there is a cybersecurity incident. And what's also good to know is that the basic cyber hygiene for a lot of organizations, it seems and it feels like, okay, well, I am having my basic cyber hygiene on the right level, right? If you ask me, and Patrick and I have spoken with a lot of organizations lately also regarding the NIS2, basic cyber hygiene is still a topic that needs a lot of attention within our customers. And I think you as a partner can also help your customers to get the basic cyber hygiene into a next level. What's also good to know is that you, as an organization, you should know who has access to what and when. So the need to know access. And of course, asset management is also a really important. Is a really important topic, right? Because as if you do not know what you have, how are you able to take? How can you protect those assets, right? So those things are important. And last but not least, it is not only about your organization, it's about the whole supply chain security we are talking about. To elaborate a bit more on this, most organizations think from, okay, well, if I have it on paper, is this sufficient? No, it is not. If you have an audit, then you also have to show that your processes and procedures really work in practice. But when we talk about the way of implemented, and I will show it also a bit more in a few slides, there are several frameworks that you can take into account when you want to comply towards the NIS2 law. For instance, in Belgium, there is the Cyber Security Fundamental Framework, the CYFUN, which is really helpful for you as a partner, but also for an organization to give you some guidance to comply with the NIS2 law. So this is also an advice towards you, but also to your partners, to your customers. Please use the existing frameworks that there are to comply with the NIS2 law. And last but not least, authorities can ask each moment in time towards an organization that you are comply with the NIS2 law. So from an organization point of view, please also do security audits and penetration testing to show that you're really ready for this law.
And what the NIS2 is saying also is that if you should be able to give an audit report or a penetration testing report and what you're going to do on the points that you score low. And if you cannot provide that as an essential company, the authorities can just hire someone to do it for you, and you will get the bill for it. So it's very important to do this proactive and not reactive anymore.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you, Patrick. Yes, and indeed, again, basic cyber hygiene, right? Also, take this to a next level. If you think you have it in place, please check, verify, and make improvements, because this is a really important element again.
Yeah, so this shows that that basic cyber hygiene is changing. Basically, a few years ago, when you ask someone what is basic cyber hygiene, they would answer, you need to have an antivirus, you need to patch, you need to have a backup, and that's it, basically. Now the EU changes that definition into more towards zero trust principles. So you have to do zero trust, you have to do software updates, device configurations, you need to do network segmentation. some IAM and a lot of user training and awareness. So they are changing the way that we normally think about basic cyber hygiene.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, so how does Ivanti comes into the NIS2, right? As Ivanti, we have a broad portfolio with all kind of software solutions to discover, server, manage, and secure your IT environment, and of course all the assets within the environment. When we take a look at our portfolio, it is divided into 3 parts: unified endpoint management, experience management or IT service management, and cybersecurity. And if you ask me, okay, what is the vision of Ivanti? I think for organizations who need to comply with the NIS2, those 3 worlds come together. And as Ivanti, we can help you manage the entire cybersecurity journey towards the NIS2 and also towards your employees to improve the way they use your IT assets and also your IT services. Like I said before, there are several frameworks that you can take into account to comply with the NIS2 law. Really, this is an advice to you and also to your customers. Please use the Cyphern framework within Belgium. This is really helpful. Besides that, a lot of organizations already have things in place, like ISO certification, or maybe they also are using the NIS2 framework from a cybersecurity point of view. All those frameworks are really helpful with complying towards the NIS2. Last but not least, the CIS2 benchmark, it will also give you some practical guidance how to take several cybersecurity measures. So that's also a thing that you can take into account. When we talk about the NIST framework, this is the new updated version. Maybe you've seen it before, the 2.0 version. Basically, when you take a look at to the whole to a cyber security incident and the way that you can protect yourself as an organization towards cybersecurity incidents and cybersecurity threats, there are 6 areas that you have to take into your consideration to cover, identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. I think as an organization, you can take all those things into account to come to a framework how you manage cybersecurity from a risk point of view. And when we look at the portfolio of Ivanti, yes, we do a lot. At this point, we have 80 software solutions in place where we can help our customers. But as you can see, with most parts within each component, we can help partners, but also customers to improve their cybersecurity posture. If you would like to have more information about this, how we do this, you also see a QR code on the right top of your screen, where we also have an ebook about this topic. So please feel free to read that. All right, that was my story. Then I would like to hand it over to Patrick.
I'll take over.
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's see how Ivanti can help with the NIS2, right? So it's all about cyber hygiene, basically as a foundation. And the story I will take you through is about how we can help with our tools. But if you have something else already in place, feel free to use that also. And as Royal already mentioned, everything starts with the discovery of your assets. From reports, we know that about 7 in 10 organizations that had a cyber attack had that started in an asset that was unknown, unmanaged, poorly managed but connected to the internet. And if you would do a self-assessment of the NIS CSF, most companies do that by column. And if you just say, hey, I know that I can identify 70% of all my assets, and I have a detection of 80% of all those assets, then basically what you're saying is, okay, I have that 70%, so I don't know about 30, so those figures are wrong. You need to translate those figures to the 70%. And what I say is, even if you don't know that 30% of assets in your company, then the protection isn't even 42. That protection is 0. Because if you don't manage and identify those 30% of assets, and you don't protect those, your whole infrastructure is not protected anymore. So discovery is very important to do security, and also the SIS control says that you have to do an inventory of your assets and also on the software running on those assets. So you have a complete list of everything that is there in your environment. And that's what we do with some of our Ivanti solutions. Talking about neurons for discovery as first, it is doing active and passive discovery in your network. It connects to third-party solutions like Intune, Azure, but also Rapid7 or Qualys or even Google management solutions, and we get all that information in. So we're not doing our own discovery only, but also take into account all that information that others have and bring that together into one view. So you get one integrated view that is a trusted data source for a configuration management database or an asset management database. And we don't do that once, we do that continuously. So every day, even in your own network, it's every, I would say, every minute, we are checking if there's something new connecting to it. Then we have one other solution, neurons for surface mapping, that is making it visible, but also shows you dependencies. So if you have a database, it will show you that database, the different databases on that server. It will show you which middleware is connecting to it, and it will show you which clients are connecting to that middleware. So you can directly see visually which assets are the most critical, because if such a data store is going down, then not only the data store is down, but also the middleware and all the clients cannot connect to it anymore. So that's something that neurons for surface mapping is showing you, that visualization, so you can rightly identify which assets are the most critical in your environment. All that information that we found with discovery and inventory can then be moved to neurons for asset management, basically filling in that asset management database with new information about hardware and software every 24 hours. That happens automatically if you combine our solution stacks together. So your support engineers and your IT department always have an up-to-date insight in all the assets that you have. So you can remove assets that aren't necessary anymore, that are old. In the asset management, you can also track which users have which access to data, identify assets that need updates, which is a combination with our neurons for patch management that feeds in that information. Also, with that asset management data store, you can also detect unauthorized software. If there's software installed in your environment that shouldn't be there, that you didn't approve. Or you can remove unused software, which is a security risk by leaving it there, because if you the less software you have that shouldn't be there, the less connections there are to exploits that can be misused. And you can determine if software is missing, if an antivirus or some patches are missing, or maybe some other software that you want to have installed on those assets. So that's where you see the combination between discovery, asset management, and what we call neurons for spent intelligence that gets all the information about the software, and the patch management that feeds in information about missing patches on all those assets to give you that security insight from within your asset management. One step further, we go to the CMDB with neurons for IT service management. Why is a CMDB important for security? That's because in a CMDB, every change should be recorded there. So everything that is changed in your environment can be found back in the configuration management database. That means that you can also recognize things that were changed by threat actors. Because most of those threat actors don't create an extra report in the CMDB that they changed something. But it also shows you when something happens and you have to rebuild what was the configuration of that server. And hey, I have a problem in my environment. How did we get there? So we can check which changes were made and revert them when they break something. That's one part of the service management solution that you can use, but there are more parts in there. For example, you can use that service management solution to create a portal where normally employees request software, etc. But that portal can also be used to make an entry point for your employees to create an incident ticket about a security incident, because, for example, that they send an Excel sheet with all the employee names to someone external while it should be internal, and that kind of stuff. So they can easily create that incident, and then the service management system can use the normal workflows that it has to identify the incident, the risk of it, and send it to the correct people to handle. Looking at Ivanti service management, we have also some add-ons for security operations management and for government risk and compliancy that can also help with the NIS2. The NIS2 says as first point, you have to do a risk assessment. You need to use the frameworks that already exist. There's all kind of stuff that government risk and compliancy can help you with, because it can import the different frameworks. You can check the boxes on there, and if there's a checkbox that is active in multiple frameworks, GSC will automatically connect those together. So if you make the checkbox in one, it will also check the box in a different framework there. It also shows you the different risk scoring of the different assets that you can set. And combined with our risk-based vulnerability management or with the patching solutions, that information gets also in, and where an asset was first green on the terms of risk, if it misses certain patches or is vulnerable for certain exploits, when that information feeds in, GSC will automatically turn that asset from green to orange, so to red. That it has a higher risk, and you have to do something with it and give it more priority. So that's how service management can help you in the NIS2 with all the procedures that can be automatically handled, or with the flow in the correct order, and give you the entry point for your employees to get information about security and to create incidents. Then one step further is going into the management of your devices and data. So we have a lot of solutions here from Ivanti that can help you. First of all, after you discover the devices, you have to manage them. So you have to enroll all those devices into your management systems, so you can secure them properly. That secure can be done by compliancy management. For example, our neurons for MDM can help you setting compliancy, for example, about, okay, BitLocker has to be turned on, or certain applications that are allowed or not allowed can be set with compliancy management. Also important part is, of course, patch management in the environment. And within Ivanti, we are changing the patch management from the static one that we have now to a more risk-based way of patch management. And with all the changes in the world in software, you also have to create multiple lines of patch management, let's say it that way. For example, Microsoft is releasing every Tuesday of the second Tuesday of the month, but Google Chrome is updating the browser every week and sometimes even 2 times a week. So we have to create differences in there, which patches could wait, which patches should be automatically installed without you testing it at all, and which patches should have the highest priority and be installed as soon as possible to all the devices. So we have to change that a little bit, and we can do that with our patch management solutions like Kernels for Patch Management. Also important on the unified endpoint management part is application control. Which applications can a user start? Are those only approved applications, or do we have a special portal where people can install stuff? And if it is installed, how do you then check that it is allowed to run? And that's something that application control can help you with, what we call trusted ownership. That helps a lot with automatically approving software that is allowed in your environment and denying everything that a user is downloading or trying to start from a USB stick, for example. To keep privileges in place. So there was something in the NIS2 article in 21 that says you need to do identity and access management. Basically, you don't want your users to be admins on the endpoint. But you want to give them the flexibility to do stuff. For example, developers need sometimes a special admin rights in there. Sometimes a user at home wants to install a printer and you want to allow that in an easy way. That's what privilege management is doing. So in our application control solution, what we can do is give certain users the power to right click and say, I want to start it with admin rights. They have to give in a reason which is audited in the event log, so you can find back why and which applications were started by which user with admin rights. If you don't want to automate that, you can also create a ticket if you have a connection to our service management. Then the user can request access. It is automatically creating a ticket. Support says it's okay or not okay. If it's okay, the user will get a message within a few minutes that it can now start a certain application with extra admin rights for a certain amount of time. Even in a disconnected state, the user can still call the support desk. Support desk can give in some information. It will report back in certain code. The user fills in that code, and then offline, application control will allow the startment of that process with or without admin rights at that moment. But then at that moment, everything is still being logged, so you can find it back. Also important, as we already said, you need to do something with zero trust principles based on the NIS2. And if we take a look at our solutions, we have zero trust access there. That helps you with the connections to the internal stuff, but also to web services by going with the point that we don't trust anyone, we verify, and if everything is okay, we connect you. And when connected, we will still verify if everything is still in order on the endpoint or with the user. So it's always secure there. So that's something that we can do with Neurons for Trust for zero trust access. On top of that, we have device control that can help you with telling not only which USB sticks you can use, but also by protecting the USB sticks by saying, hey, you need always to encrypt it. And we can even go one step further saying, hey, I only allow this type of hardware. So if you connect a different headset, or if you connect a rubber ducky, device control will see it and block it as it is not allowed. And the last part, zero sign-on, something that we offer for several years now, and it is coming in now more quickly because of Microsoft and Google jumping on the same train, saying, hey, we should stop using passwords. Basically, what we do is one step further from multi-factor authentication, leaving the passwords out. So if you want to enter your desktop, you scan the QR code with your managed device that we trust and we know it's okay. You unlock it with your Face ID or with your fingerprint. So we still have the multi-factor authentication there. You scan the QR code, we know who you are, and we log you in on the desktop or on a certain web service. 2 points that are good for security here. The first one, I don't use any passwords, so passwords cannot be leaked there. So even if you would have a keylogger, it will never see any passwords of people logging on. And the second one is if I'm leaving the company, on what way or whatever, I don't know any passwords. So I can try to go to the web servers that I could use earlier. I can try to scan that QR code, but that managed device is not managed anymore, so we don't trust it anymore. So that QR code ends in nothing, and I cannot log in because I don't know the password at all from that web server. So it's extra secure there. Going one step further, continuous exposure management, threat exposure management, as Gartner is calling it. Basically, what we say, you have to do vulnerability management continuously. So not only once per month, but see it every hour if there's something changing in there. And we have to do this in a different way because the normal way, as we always did it, we cannot do that anymore because it takes too much time. And basically, we are focusing on the wrong points. So say this figure shows all the known vulnerabilities in the software packages that there are. Then a part of this has high and critical severity vulnerabilities. Normally, what you do is you run a vulnerability scanner in your environment, and there's an overlap there. And what most people will do is giving priority to the vulnerabilities that were found that have a high and critical CVSS scoring. The problem with this is it's pretty much inefficiency. You protect something, but you leave a lot open. Why is this? If you take a look at malware that is using vulnerabilities, then malware is using those vulnerabilities. And what you see is it's using high critical, but also a lot of lower level CVSS scoring vulnerabilities. So what we say at Ivanti is that you first should give the priority to the high critical vulnerabilities that were found and being used by malware, and then fix all lower vulnerabilities that are being used by malware that were found. And then you can move over to the rest of your environment to give the rest of the vulnerabilities priority. But then you already closed the door for malware. And that's something where risk-based vulnerability management, neurons for RBVM and neurons for application security comes in. It takes in all the information from vulnerability scanners like Rapid7, Qualys, Microsoft Defender, Tenable, that kind of vulnerability scanners, bring it all together into one view and show you which should have the highest priority based on that active malware in the world. It also helps you streamline the process because the security team is using this. They can select the vulnerabilities that has to be fixed, bring that automatically with a ticket to the service management system. Operation is doing their job, patching the assets, doing the different configuration on the assets to bring down the vulnerabilities. And when they've done, neurons for RBVM will automatically see this and check the box with, hey, operation is finished. And with the next scan of your vulnerability scanner, it will check what it can do. So this is what we have now. What we hope to launch in a few months is something that we call the virtual vulnerability scanner, that is using the inventory data of Discovery together with all the data of our patch management and risk-based vulnerability management solutions to give you a virtual scanner that partly gives you the same insights as Rapid7 can do, but taking into account also vulnerabilities that are being patched but that don't have any CVSS scoring on top of it. So that's a small window in a small view what is coming there from us. And then last point here is that RBVM is doing it for the internal part, but we also have assets facing the internet, like certificates, like mail servers, like servers, IIS or Apache servers, for example, that also could have some vulnerabilities on there that has to be picked up and done. So that's what we do with neurons for ESM. It's taking that information that we have that hackers are using, like Showdown, and have a bound database, etc., to give you an insight of all the information that is in the darknet. That is known about your environment, so you can take measures to protect against it, or take all measures there. So that's something that we can do with external attack surface management, and also that information feeds back into asset management to give you that one oversight of all your assets. Security cannot be done without thinking about the users. So you have to think about if users can still do the job. If it's not the case, then they will try to go around it. And so you have to look at that experience, that user experience there. You need to take into account what we call the digital employee experience. And it's not only normal users that try to circumvent security when they cannot do the job. It's also the higher management that do the same thing. And basically, if your CEO is next to you as support engineer saying, hey, I want to use WeTransfer, but it is not allowed and I need to use it because if we don't use it, we lose a lot of money. I think that support engineer will give that access. But we have to think about this, and that's also why we have to inform that management about cybersecurity, why we take measures and why it is important. So always think about the digital user experience, and sometimes that will mean that you need to lower the security on one part for the user to do the job and bring it from another part to make it more secure. So what are the steps to take for the NIS2 directive? Now, this part was created beginning of 2023. 14 October is almost there. So in most cases, you have to move it a little bit. In Belgium, I know you will have a slack space of 2 years because before the fines will be given. But still, the government needs you to be prepared as soon as possible. So the first thing you have to do is, am I covered by the NIS2 directive? Do I need to do anything with it? If it's the case, you need to register in every country that you're doing business with. So if you're doing business with Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and Germany, you have to register your company in every country at the place you have to do that. Then you need to find gaps in the directive requirements. For Belgium, use the Siphon framework to see if you have any gaps, and then talk to your management about NIS2 and the measures needed to close the gaps to get the budget there. You also have to talk with your supply chain, especially your tier 1 supply chain, because they need to be on a certain security level for you. If they aren't, they expose a risk for your business and for your company, and you need to take measures with them. So you need to help them get to the security posture that you want them to be. You have to design a strong cybersecurity framework for yourselves, take in the technical measures, implement those technical measures and organizational changes, and then design and implement mechanisms to review if everything is okay. And what Belgium is extra saying, that if you have taken all those measures, you have to do a security review with an external party. So to show that everything is okay. So that's the first audit report, or maybe even your first pen test report that you have ready for the auditors that are looking at you. And then, yeah, basically you're ready for 14 October if you can do this in 1 month. So how can we help within Ivanti? Ivanti have different packages that you can use to help. So all the solutions that we showed earlier are combined in several packages that you can use, and that can help your customers getting ready, getting more compliant toward NIS2. We have some extra information about ebooks. I think the presentation will be shared with you guys, so you can use that. And last but not least, I want to give an extra information that on the 27th of September, we have an on-site hands-on lab at Infinigate Belgium that shows you the power of our Neurons platform with our Neurons bots and the patch management part there. And maybe if you ask nicely to my colleagues there that will be there, they can also show you some extra information of the other parts that came by. So we have a few minutes left for questions. So if you have a question, I would say raise your hand, and if you hear your name, unmute and ask it. I don't know if I can answer all questions, but let's see if there are any. Seems a little bit quiet.
No questions?
Oh, there's one in the chat. I see. Yeah, the question is, we mentioned that there are 180,000 companies in the EU. That's a figure that came from some events that I went to last year. Probably it is even a little bit higher. If there's a clear online step-by-step questionnaire to see if you need to comply with the NIS2. I cannot answer that for all countries. I don't know for Belgium or Luxembourg. I know for the Netherlands, there is a website that you can use to check if you need to be compliant. Basically, what it does, it goes through, hey, what type of company are you? So essential, important, or not on that list. How many employees do you have? What your total revenue is, because that's one. Those three will set you in for the NIS2. I know for Belgium there's even a sort like Excel sheet that you can use to check where you are, because there are some rules there, but also the government per country can say, hey, based on the rules, you not need to be compliant, but we see you as an essential company, so you need to be compliant. So they can change the rules a little bit for different companies there.
Yeah, just to add on, Cyber Fundamentals, the framework for Belgium, there is a toolbox available with the things that Patrick just described. Let me put in the link in the chat with some additional informations that you can also share internally with your colleagues or with your customers if necessary. So there's also a self-assessment for those customers to see if they have to comply with the NIS2. Right?
I don't see any other questions. So in that case, I would say thank you all for listening. And if any questions arise later on, feel free to ask us or ask Infinigate for more information.
Yes, thank you. Hope we can see you also in the hands-on lab. Please feel free to also invite colleagues within your organization, of course. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you, everyone.